Okay, so we should be live. I always like to double check, and it gives me a little notification when
Okay,
we
good.
go live.
I
So,
like Propel technology, so I would not be surprised if something happened, so it's probably good to check.
no, you want to know what's funny is I learned how to set this up from Jess from Peace Love Books. Taught me
Love
how to.
her. She's the
Yeah,
best.
she's literally the one who gave me a tutorial on how to use this.
I
So,
didn't even really know that there was YouTube Live until we set this up. I was like, "Oh, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not really like a techie girl. I did not know this even existed."
yeah, no, it's really wonderful. And because people can come join us live chat, but then it gets saved on my YouTube, so then you can watch it at any time.
Oh,
So
there's some people. Hello.
people will start rolling in. We'll see who comes. So hi everyone. Welcome to the live chat with the one, the only Giana Darling. I mean, you're going to be my last author interview on my YouTube for the year. And let me tell you, this was not on my bingo card, you showing up. And I first started doing these in, I want to say, July, over the summer.
Mhm.
And I've done a couple with all of my favorite authors. And the fact that we're ending this year with you is very, very special.
I'm so excited to be here. Girl, you have a tattoo for Welcome to the Dark Side. How could I not want to chat with you about The Fallen?
I have on my shirt that I just got from Novel Grounds. It's really cute.
So
And
pretty.
the black one is very, very cute. It's very
I
comfortable.
love it. I love that design so much.
It's really, really nice. And then I have on that was actually gifted to me by a friend. I have my Daddy Zeus bracelet,
Oh, I love it.
so much. And then I have all of this isn't even all of them, but I have my one set of the baby. Here they are.
I love it. I love seeing them.
The big boys. And it's funny. I wanted to, well, always when I do an author chat, I always like to say like my history with the
Mhm.
author, like, the quick story of how I got into your books. And it was 2 years ago. I was really big, and I mean, I still am, but at the time I was really big into like binge listening to series on audio. I
Yeah.
was very, very good at just knocking out a series in like a week, like less than a
Wow.
week. I was on the move. And the Fallen Men series came on my radar actually from people like Jess, again from Peace
Mhm,
Love Books, like a couple of people. I was just starting on TikTok and everything and like,
mhm.
watching YouTube. And I was like, this series really sounds like it would be something that I like. Like everyone was like, it's Age Gap, it's Motorcycle Club. At the time, I don't think I read a Motorcycle Club romance yet. And I was like, but this all sounds fantastic. So I bought all of the audiobooks were in an Audible sale.
Mhm.
And I remember I put it on like my TBR of like series that I have to listen to. I finished the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark, which is a
Mhm.
great mafia series. And then I was like, okay, what's next? And I started the Fallen Men series. And the rest is history. Obviously, the audiobooks are sensational, by the way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because I was not previously an audio girly, so I just knew that I wanted to be in charge of the audio and produce it myself so I could choose, but I had, like, no idea about any of the narrators or anything, so I listened to so many samples, so many narrators to try to find the right ones, so hearing that you enjoyed the narrators and the Audible experience with them is really lovely.
No, they're truly some of my favorite audiobooks because again, it's actually like the Sophie Lark series and like a couple other series where each couple for each book is narrated by different people.
Mhm.
I really like that because it really, makes you separate like each book
Yeah.
and it feels like its own story. Like I understand when like the same narrators are used, but like I feel like you casted them so
Yeah.
so
I
well.
I do I do feel pretty strongly about the Fallen Men series having different narrators for every book just because they are such different they're not only different characters, they're different stories, and they just need different things, and they sound differently in my head, so they should sound differently for everyone else, I think. So, yeah, I mean, even though it's gonna be a long series, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hope that there's that many good narrators out there," it's important to me that they're all different.
Yeah. And I mean, again, for me, I consumed this book. The first time I, obviously read it was on audio. And I thought
Mhm.
the audiobook was sensational. Like, this
They
is
did such a good job.
one of the best casted narrated audiobooks ever. It's Jason Clark and Desiree Ketchum, who I love very much. I love Jason Clark. I made it a mission at Book Bonanza to have him sign one of my copies of the
Love
book.
that.
He's very lovely.
Yeah.
So this, I fell in love with it just by the audiobook because it was that good. So
I think when you get a good narrator and narrators who understand your story, they bring it to life and they give it these nuances that you just do not get reading it, yourself. And so it's so wonderful when people have that experience. And as soon as I heard Jason Clark, I was like, he has to be Daddy Z. There's no way. And Desiree did such a good job as Lulu as well. I just think they nailed it. And I mean, that was like the second one that I got made into audio. So I was like, okay, this is a high bar. Let's see if we can maintain it.
no, they're all so good. And like he is
Yeah.
like Daddy Zeus. Like, I mean, I
100%.
love Jason Clark. He's my favorite male narrator, but like he is literally like you couldn't have picked a different voice. And I'm mostly an audiobook person. Like I'm a mix, but like now I definitely do a lot of audios.
Mhm.
I can't think of a single voice that I've ever listened to that would be Daddy Zeus. Like it's literally impossible. He is
I do think he embodies Daddy Z very well, and, like, he especially for me, Zeus lives, like, rent free in my head, and he has for a long time, so his voice is so distinct, and also, I mean, I write the books with their slang in them, and so someone who was able to do that, like, I've had in books after that, people do auditions because I want to make sure that even if I like them as a narrator, they can do, like, the biker speak,
yeah.
and I've had people who I was like, they were gonna be so great, and then they try to do the biker speak, and they just can't make it work. And Jason Clark did it so perfectly. And I just like, yeah, I think that he was perfect. I love him.
Yeah. Well, I know also people have asked like in your reader group on the
Mhm.
side, the newest release. I know it's confirmed that this is getting an audiobook. I
Yeah.
believe it's coming in, the coming weeks. Have you said
It'll be in January. We had I had to like make sure that the Cantonese was right in the book.
Mhm.
So it's like a little bit delayed because we had some Cantonese is super, super difficult.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was one of the things when I wrote that book that I discovered. Like even when you translate it from like Cantonese to English, they often have numbers in the language to let you know how you're supposed to move your mouth. Like that's how hard this language is.
Yeah.
So it took a minute and we needed some help to make sure the narrator, I haven't announced who the narrators are and I'm not going to right now because I like to be a tease and I'll just wait until I'm about to release the audiobook before I announce who they are. But the female narrator is, she's actually Chinese American and so she'll do a great job, but there's a lot of Cantonese in the book. I wanted to make sure that it was
Yeah.
appropriate, like actually well done.
Yeah. I'm so excited for this audiobook. I said when I was reading the new one, by the way, I'm sure you all know if you're here, this is Caution to the Wind. This is Gianna's newest release in the Fallen Men series. What is this book seven? It
Yes.
is book seven.
Yeah.
So it's book seven in the Fallen Men series.
Mhm.
Just came out. Again, audiobook is
Where's the
coming. I'll tell you, there's a discreet cover behind you, or you have it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah, it is behind me too, but
and
it's very pretty as well.
yes, that's so beautiful. The discreet
I'm
cover.
obsessed with this cover.
Love it.
I love it so much. I like love the spine. I mean, I love the discreet covers. I think I'm not really a discreet cover girl. Like I love my people covers and I think I always will love my people covers.
Mhm.
But I understand the need for some discreet covers in people's lives. And I do think they can be really beautiful. I think I'm just like really picky about them. So I knew when I wanted to do the Fallen Men that they had to be like just as beautiful in their own way as the beautiful men and women that I had found for them. So I'm also really excited to show May's cover, which I haven't revealed yet, but
Yeah.
she's so beautiful. She's so perfect. I love her, and I can't wait to show everyone.
I love your people covers. I'm a
Thank
people cover
you.
person also. I
Yeah.
just think, and I've said this before, the people, especially your people covers, like this is how I picture the characters.
Yeah.
I am not someone who pictures book characters as like celebrities or like random. I genuinely cannot do this, and I
Yeah.
always say this to authors. I'm like, if you put people on the covers of your
That's
book,
who they are.
that is exactly
It's fair.
picture them. And I know, like with the women models in the past, you've said how like they've literally been like your muses, you've
Yeah.
like
I
inspired them,
mean,
like you
same
find.
with Caution actually, like, so he was always my muse,
Mhm,
um, for Axeman. I mean, Axeman in my head's bigger than, the model, but he was, like, really such my muse that there was a moment where it seemed like I wasn't going to be able to get his picture on the cover,
mhm,
and I had a panic attack, and I was like, "Well, then I can't write this book, because if I can't have him on the cover,
mhm.
then, like, that's it."
Yeah.
And, I've been devastated by before when I haven't been able to get people that I want on the cover. Like, for Fallen Men 8, I already have those covers, but I had
Mhm.
found a really perfect person for, one of those covers, and I was like, "This is them, I need them." And then in the end, I wasn't able to get the photo, and I was like, devastated for months. I was so upset. Like, I really couldn't get over it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I care a lot, and I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I don't even wanna know how much time searching for the right models, and a lot of them, I do have them already in my head,
Mhm.
but some of them are tough. Like, some of them are very specific looking, or have specific traits. And I'm like, or even honestly for narrators for audio, sometimes I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Like, why do they have this accent or whatever? Because it just makes it that much harder to find the right fit.
Yeah.
But you got to do what you got to do. I'm willing to do the work to get it perfect. It's just sometimes I make it hard on myself.
Yeah. No, and again, I'm so serious. Like everything, it's so well done. The
Thank
beautiful
you.
girl covers, I'm obsessed with them. I have all
Too.
of those hiding downstairs. I love the men covers. They are just I just perfect.
My sweet.
Beautiful. I mean, she's everywhere.
Yeah.
She's on the Dark and Corky special edition.
That's not actually her. It
That's
just looks no, it looks exactly like her, which we were, like, shocked.
that's not
Um,
the same model? That's
no,
actually crazy.
I
No,
know, and she
she's like
looks the
her.
exact same. So, when they sent me through that cover, I was like, "Wait a second, what?"
That's
Um,
absolutely the craziest thing
Not
ever.
the same person, looks exactly perfect. I was like, "Wow, I'm blown away."
That's so I really was this whole time, I thought it
I
was
know. No, that's how good Dark and Quirky is, that they somehow found, like, an exact replica of the
yeah,
girl.
but no, I think they're all so good, and again, that's exactly how I picture them, like, I'm not like, especially reading this one, I think in this I mean, obviously, in all of the books with the Fallen Men series, can you technically read them as standalones? Sure. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not.
Fair enough.
You just get the full experience with the
Yeah,
characters when you read them in order. And
yeah,
obviously, the events from past books will fade into the other books, especially this one.
yeah.
The events from where is he? Hold on. I have him. There he is.
Yeah, praised.
Priest, which was my second favorite in the series, but now it's very hard. It's
Oh, I love that. They're very different men too. I mean,
they are.
that's kind of also my goal is like I want it to be difficult to pick a favorite because they're all so different. I think sometimes when I read books, I'm like, oh, but they're all the same, and no one is the same in the world. We're all different. We all have different love stories. We all have different personalities and different likes and desires. And I really wanted all of the fallen men to be super distinct. Like, I think, in my opinion, I think they're all very wildly different. Like, someone said, wow, how crazy to go from priest to axeman. And I was like, well, I went from Nova to priest, which I think is even a bigger jump. So, yeah, like, I want it to be like, and everyone has different flavors of different tastes in men. So, someone hopefully appeals to everyone in the fallen men.
Yeah. Well, obviously my number one is it's untouchable, so it's really just the rest of the order can swap around
Yeah, fair enough.
after my number one, but it's really fun. Again, with this series, if you happen to be watching this and haven't read them yet, but just reading it, seeing who your favorites are, seeing how it changes. And I love when run into other people who love this series and seeing who their favorite
Yeah.
man is. Cause like truly everyone is different. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Nova girlies. I actually feel like I know the most Nova girlies.
Oh, interesting.
Personally.
I was saying recently, like, I think that, you know, based on my research or my experience, that it's Zeus at the top still, but very close second is Priest. And
Ooh.
then the next tier is kind of Nova and King. I mean,
Mhm,
this is before Axeman too, so it's a bit too fresh to slot Axeman in here, but
mhm.
Nova and King kind of the next level, and I'd say maybe actually King edges out a little bit. There's some like really hardcore King girlies. And then Nova, and then it's always Lionel Danner at the end. But I think it's also because he's a cop and he's not, even though he pretends to be a biker and, you know, he's got his own bad boy side, he's not part of the MC. And I think it just hits differently for people.
Yeah. But I love Good Gone Bad. Let me tell you, of the books in the series, that one I think about a lot.
Oh, I love that. I love that one too. That one's that's one of my favorites for sure.
Maybe also because Harley Rose is my girl and I love her.
Yeah.
And again, with this book, seeing everyone, again, I feel like especially in this one, the cameos from everyone, anytime they kept popping up, especially, you know, due to, you know, the wait that we had for this one, seeing them come up. And I didn't do like a reread or anything. The only book, you know, I will reread parts of almost every day is Welcome to the Dark Side. But I, you know, haven't read through, you know, the series in a while. I know some people did to prep for this one, which, you know, is a good idea. Or if you want to read maybe this one, this book, you know, events directly flow into this
I
book.
even say at the beginning of Caution to maybe pick up Dead Man Walking as a refresher. Because I mean, the events that happen in that, like Caution after the time jump, it's immediately after that.
Yes. Yeah. So, but it was just so special. Like I just loved seeing everyone. Like when Lulu made her first appearance out of the blue, I was like, oh my God, my baby. And then like Bia, I love Bia so much. And then again, when Harley Rose showed up, like especially all of the girls, like even like the ladies popping up, I feel like I got more like, oh my God, than the guys. Because I feel like you expect the guys to pop up. X-Man is obviously part of the MC. And also when people were reading this before me, they were like, oh, some people like really early on, you know, the ARC readers who read it in like a day because they're
it's a big book to read in a day. I mean, like it's not a small one.
Yeah, they're very impressive who read it. They're like, oh, Zeus is like in this book a lot. And I was like, oh no.
Oh my God.
I could literally cried when he did something nice. I will not spoil the nice thing that he did, but maybe you know what I'm talking about when he was just being
He's always nice. That's the thing about Zeus is he's actually one of the nicest humans alive. Like he will kill a man with his bare hands, but like for nice reasons because he's protecting his family and stuff. Like he is a nice boy. He's not a nice man. Like he's not even grumpy. He's just a nice human.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why there were so many cameos in Caution is because you're seeing them all from the eyes of someone who doesn't know them. So this is May coming into this situation where there's so many characters, so many players that mean something. Like this is Axeman and May, or Axeman and Cleo were her family. So she knows them, and like the context of her life is basically wrapped around them. Even though she had this separation from them, her whole life is about Axeman and Cleo and Lynn to another extent. And then she meets this massive group of people who have now become their family. And it makes for really interesting, dynamics. And it was impossible not to tell her story without May's vision of all these different people and kind of how they interact with each other. I kind of thought it was funny because a few people read the book and then they were like, you know, the fallen women really need to apologize to May. And I was like, that's a really interesting take. I do not feel that way because, I mean, they do end up in the bonus epilogue of actually the discreet cover. There is a scene where they have like this lovely community coming together for May, but I don't think that they owe her an apology for anything. I mean, you think about it, some girl who has been estranged from your friends for 8 years and had something to do with one of them potentially going to prison, and she arrives on the doorstep after one of the people's been really traumatized. Are you really going to be like, come here, hugs, kisses, instantly? Like these are fallen bikers. Like these are fallen bikers and they're women. They are ride or die for their people. They are protective. There's no way they're not going to vet the new girl in town. Like no way. And I think they did it in a fairly respectful way. They weren't like assholes. They were just worried.
It could have been worse. I mean, I always say one of my favorite scenes from Welcome to the Dark Side, because it's so relatable, is when Harley Rose is going to whoop Lulu's ass in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yes, that's how they are. Like they will literally
I'm not even a biker, but I am just from New York. And if someone was hooking up with my dad, I'd be throwing hands in the
Yeah.
parking lot too.
Totally. Like, these are not it's not like going to a high school and, like, there's not like, "Oh, it's just cliquey and they're just bitches."
Yeah.
Like, these are really intense people
Mhm.
with a different moral code and different social mores than everyone else. So, I actually thought they were rather nice to May given the circumstances. They could have been way, way worse. Um, and I think that, like, that's something to consider too, that even me, I'm not a biker babe, and if someone came to town with a really bad history with one of my loved ones, I would definitely be on my guard. And would
Mhm.
I be very warm? Probably not, you know?
No, they've all been through so much. Have
Yes,
you read the series? These poor,
they've
these
been
ladies
through a
and
lot.
these men, this whole MC, everyone, they've all
Yeah,
been.
and they've been betrayed, and that's something also that, like, betrayal and revenge are really big in all my books, honestly, but also in The Fallen Men. Like, there's been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of love gone bad, and when you think about all those scars and stuff, I mean, it's a wonder that they even let her, like, pass into the town limits, really.
Mhm. I know,
Someone
but
just asked if I've ever dated a biker in real life. Not like an outlaw motorcycle man. My husband is a Harley Davidson rider. He has a bike.
Mhm.
And I do ride on the back of it. There's a little Fallen Men sticker on his Harley, but
Sure.
no, he's not a biker. He's very like he plays golf every week. Like he's not like a
Yeah.
Zeus biker. So no, I have not. Um, and I wouldn't even say that I'm particularly drawn to that. It's just I actually started writing The Fallen because I wasn't really a big MC reader and I wasn't really a fan of necessarily of MC romances, and I wanted to write a series in that vein that I really enjoyed. So
Mhm.
that's it's not I'm not coming at it from someone who like lived the life, loved it, or even loved MC books. I wanted to create this world in a way that I would enjoy. And happily, seems other people enjoy it too.
I mean, I would say it worked out in that
Yeah, I think so.
you have your Gianna spin on it with
Mm,
forbidden elements,
mhm.
the twists and turns, the found family, just the
Yeah,
really beautiful emotional relationships. You love to put your characters through so much.
I do. I want them to feel the pain for
They
sure.
really feel the pain.
Very badly, I want them to feel I just want I mean, life is so beautiful, and there's so much suffering, and conversely, there's so much joy, and I feel like you really feel them more acutely by having them to get like, together, they
Mhm.
heighten each other, and so when I write a book, I want you to feel the highs and the lows very acutely, therefore, there needs to be some really deep lows and some really high highs,
Yeah.
hence
No,
the pain.
no, absolutely. I think it just makes all of the couples like, listen, they're very real to me.
I love that. They're
They
very
just
real to me too.
Yeah, they just are written, like, so beautifully, and even though obviously they're in a motorcycle club, they've gone through so much, it still feels real, like, the
Mhm.
relationships at their core are very believable, and I think
Mhm.
what you do with having these forbidden, elements to them, also making it seem like I feel like you're very big on it just they're soulmates, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, one of the biggest reasons, when I defend like this book, it's like,
Mhm.
no, but like you don't understand, like they're
They're
soulmates.
soulmates.
And I mean, this
Yeah.
we have best friend's father,
Mhm. Mhm.
who they've also known for a while. The opening of this book, I think, really as like crazy. And
Mhm.
like I was reading it, I was like holding my breath. I was like, oh, what is happening in this opening part of this book? I think it sets the stage for their relationship,
Mhm.
like, truly so well. Like,
Thank
you
you.
understand, like, May and Axeman, like, what the foundation of their relationship is.
Well, and even that was the first scene that I conceived of for this relationship, and I think a lot of people were surprised that it was Axeman and May. I mean, no one guessed that Axeman was next or that maybe he was even getting a book. There were a few people that were like, "Oh, I would love to see an Axeman book," but, it's always the stragglers. Like, there's a few people that say, "Oh, I want a Eugene book," or "I want, like, a Heckler book," or something, and I'm like, "Oh, interesting." So it was Axeman was kind of in that vein, but I had this scene pop into my head, which is the first scene, in the book, the first sequence in the book of these characters. And the thing is for me that, I love one of the things that I love about this world that I've created and the conversation that I get to have with readers is I never reveal who's getting a book. So it's this fun conversation we get to have all together of like who is getting a book and people get to put on their detective hats and be like, okay, well, I noticed that in this book, there was like, they were kind of flirty, or sometimes I don't know how people arrive at certain conclusions for who they think is coming next, but I love doing that. And I love that game. But for me, like I've known the book was always going to be 10 books, or the series was always going to be 10 books. So I've known most of the characters and where they were going for a really long time, since Lessons in Corruption. And so those characters get to marinate, and I get to put little drops and pieces of them in the books leading up to it. So even though like Axeman didn't seem like maybe he was getting a book, there was different little pieces. Like in Fallen King, it mentions that he went to medical school. And in another book, it mentions that he had a four-fingered hand. And at one point, King says that Axeman had like a tragedy in Calgary, and that's why he joined the entrance chapter. So it's kind of fun to have that interplay and that like kind of godlike knowledge of, ooh, I know what's happening, but also, is anyone going to pick it up? Because I'm going to put these little crumbs in here and see who notices. And it's like one of my favorite parts of this world.
Yeah, no, it's so fun to speculate like who's next. And listen, I'm not good at that, so I would be nowhere without your very smart readers who put theories out there. I was just reading this
Some
like
of them are pretty crazy.
yeah, I was just reading this like until I have Cleo's book, I will not know peace, because I do love her. And
Yes.
I do have the memory of a peanut sometimes, but I feel like Dead Man Walking, it all came back to me
Yeah.
as I was reading this book. Because again, I didn't do a refresher, but I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, yes, that happened. I was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
poor Cleo, but I love her. And, hopefully down the road, I don't think she'll be next. I think she has more time to, heal.
Yes. I've basically said, like, if Cleo gets a book, I would not personally think it would be soon, because
No,
after you go through what she went through, because I think people are forgetting, like, what happened to her in Dead Man Walking, but Caution to the Wind in the present day takes place right afterwards, like,
right
right
after.
after. So there is no way that any woman having experienced the trauma, especially the trauma at the hands of a man, there's no way that she's going to be in a place to be in a romantic relationship for quite a while afterwards. It's just like with Wrath, after what happened with him in Good Gone Bad and his tragedy, like you're seeing him in the background heal a little bit through the books, but that's something that also is going to take him a while to get over. Like these are really egregious wounds that have been inflicted on these people. And so I try to be as realistic as possible, and it can take years to get over those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would be nowhere without your readers putting together the clues, because I don't notice anything.
You're
I'm
not
just
always right though. So do not like
not
most of the time I would say I read them and I'm like, where did they get this from? I don't even know.
not always right, but again, I appreciate their efforts, because I'm just
Yeah.
reading the books and I'm crying because I'm so attached to them. And
I love that.
this book really, I told you, it was so beautiful. So
Thank you.
I'm sure, I mean, maybe everyone who's watching this has read this yet, or it's on their TBRs. I know everyone personally who I know who's a Fallen Men fan who read it. They loved it. And if you haven't read it yet, you're going to have a great time. Again, prepare yourself. I found this to be a very just like emotional experience, like being back with them. It was so special. So
I am really glad that you felt that way. I mean, it's they're an emotional world. Like I feel like once you're invested in the Fallen, there's so many of them and they just have this spirit
so
of
many of
camaraderie and like having each other's backs. And I feel like we all want to be a part of that.
yes.
And I'm really glad that it hits for people, because it certainly hits for me. And I wouldn't say that I'm like some stone cold fox that's sitting there like with no emotions as I'm writing. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I have to take a minute and be like, oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my God. So, I experience the pain as well. I'm glad that we can all experience it together.
We all experience it together. Exactly. I guess my favorite side character who I would like to see in a book is Curtains. Justice
Okay.
Curtains. I think he's so cute. I mean, if he needs to date another little redhead, maybe that would be too much. But
I'm not sure if you've read, he has a short story.
oh, does he? Where
Yeah,
is
it's
that?
called Swan Song. It's been in two different things. I think it's It's in an anthology, and I can't remember which one. I think Emily's watching. Emily, if you're here and you know which one, maybe put it in the comments for us. But yeah, it's actually yeah, it's his little romance with another hacker named Obsidian
Oh,
Swan, and she's actually mentioned a couple times in Caution to the Wind. But yeah, I love Curtains too. He is like
oh.
a geek turned biker, which is fun vibes.
Wait,
Um,
so does he have an established relationship then with the little hacker, or he just had a
so the relationship takes place in the past, and it's kind of it overlays with how Curtains ended up with the Fallen.
Mhm.
So they're not together in present day,
Okay.
but they had a romance in the past.
Him being with a hacker makes a lot of sense. That would be a very fun book to write if you made him fall for like another hacker or something. You could do a lot of like text exchanges, like back
Yeah,
and a lot of
we
emails. They'd be
we
email.
had one. Yeah, I mean, it was really fun, and there's even like, I mean, the whole premise of the short story is that essentially she's being held against her will, actually, by Seven Song Triad, and Curtains is trying to figure that out. So
My
it
man.
is really fun. I mean, there's like the truth is I could write a book for like every single character on The Fallen because I love them all.
Yeah.
Will that happen? Probably not. But I originally said that the series was supposed to be 10 books. Right now it's 12. And that could change. But so we're like halfway there.
Mhm.
Lots of Fallen men to come.
A lot. I know. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I know that that's not next.
No.
I know you've talked about what's coming next. Maybe if you would like to share what's coming next, because
Sure.
I'm so
Yeah, I actually have the paperbacks just beside me right here. But I wrote a sapphic, my first FF romance, and it's dark academia Medusa retelling. So lots of revenge vibes, lots of girl gang vibes. It's definitely one of my favorite books I've ever written. I'm really obsessed with it. And I don't actually say that very often because every book that I write is like obviously really dear to me, but this one's just like very like girl power, and there's a lot of trigger warnings because obviously it's based on the myth of Medusa, and Medusa was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple, and she was punished by Athena by being turned into a monster, and then she was eventually beheaded by Perseus. So there's an Athena character, there's a Poseidon character, there's all those, there's even a Perseus character, but it's my retelling where she gets her vengeance in the end. She is punished unfairly, but she gets her comeuppance in the end. And I'm really excited for it. I'll release it definitely in like the next couple months, probably early-ish. No, definitely early 2024, because I just can't sit on it for too long, and I'm very excited about it. And the audio is also amazing. The two women who narrated it are also queer women, and they were just really invested in the story. And I feel like you can tell in the way that they acted out the book because it's really beautiful too.
I'm really not kidding. I have goosebumps because see what you don't understand is I love sapphic romance. It
Oh my
is
gosh, amazing.
I love Greek mythology as well and retellings. So you
We got each other on the
I
same
already know
page.
this book is gonna make me cry. I will admit
Oh,
this
this one is like an emotional gut punch. It
I will not
definitely it's
I'm
very intense. It's
yeah.
it's also just like a very beautiful love story as well, but I love
I'll be
Pardon?
I said I know it's going to be.
Yeah, it is. And I just love them both so much, and I don't know. I was like, I love anyone who knows me knows, like, I love MM romance. So I always thought my first deviation from MF would be MM or even MMF, some version like that. But this story just kind of like took me by storm, and I listen to my ideas when they take me by storm. So I ended up writing it um, like in a month, and I was just totally invested, and I've had really nice feedback from people who've read it so far, and like my editorial team and even the narrators who did it were like really loved it. So I can't wait to share it. I'm really excited. And I actually even today I was like, when's too soon to start like promoting this, because I want to share all the things about it because I'm so excited.
It's never too soon. I'm truly
Well,
literally my most anticipated book. When I saw that you were you were like, "Oh, I'm doing a sapphic romance." I was like, "What?" I was like, "No one told me this." I was like, "I
Yeah.
knew that you had other stuff coming down the pipeline," and I was just like, "No, but what do you mean you're doing a sapphic romance?" I was like, "How did I miss this?" I was
Yeah,
like, "How
I'm
did I miss?"
really excited about it, and I mean, it's kind of my queer year, because I'm also doing Sebastian Lombardi's books and his trilogy. He's the brother of the heroine from the Evolution of Sin trilogy,
Mhm.
the, Enslaved duet, and the Anti-Heroes in Love duet, so it's the brother, yes, of Elena.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Um, and so his trilogy is also gonna come out in 2024. I also wrote it last year, and, it's MMF, which
incredible.
is one of my favorite things in the world. It's
Same.
like a Hollywood, um, story, they're actors, and it's a
Cool.
little bit different. The first one is kind of more like a novella-ish, but it's
Mhm.
novella for me, so it's still, like, long. It's like an average size romance book. Um, and yeah, there's a time jump, I love a time jump. So the first book set at the same time as, Enthralled, which is Kazuma's first book in the Enslaved duet, and then there's a time jump of 10 years. So it's fun because you also get to see where Giselle and Elena and Kazuma are all at in their lives after their happily evers have happened. So I'm excited about that too. And that's obviously queer as well. So it's just like a great queer year next year. And I'm excited about that.
I mean, listen, I love it.
Yeah.
I also love MMF. I mean, sharing is caring. I love
I
the
agree with you. I agree with you. I've even said to my husband, I'm like, I love you so much. You're amazing. But how much better would it be if there were two of you? And he's like, okay, okay, sure, whatever. I mean, at least it's two of me and not a different person. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's not an insult. I'm just saying, like, more is better.
I love, again, MMF
It's
romance.
so good. It's so
Just
juicy. And
pick up.
obviously there's an age gap. I don't think actually the Sapphic romance, which is Serpentine Valentine,
Mhm.
it's my first book without an age gap.
The gasp heard around the
I know,
world.
I actually didn't even realize that. I'm like,
Age gap? That's
"Right."
crazy. No,
I
but
know.
yeah. Is that are they in, like, college, or are they a little older in that one?
They're in
Like,
college.
in
Yeah, they're in college.
college?
So it's a fictional college that I created that I'm pretty obsessed with, and also it's like another thing that I love to do, not just within the Fallen, but like there's breadcrumbs because it everything kind of occurs in the same universe. So like in the Annie Heroes and Love duet, there's a mention of the Fallen New
Yes.
York chapter, right? And like in one of the Fallen Men books, I think it's Inked in Lies,
Mhm.
they talk about the actor like Sebastian Lombardi getting a custom bike done at the shop.
Mhm.
Like, so everyone exists in all the universes. And there is a fun, this is like super meta, but there's a very fun breadcrumb between Serpentine Valentine and a character that is mentioned in Dead Man Walking. So there's like, and they're for me, like mostly they're for me at this point because not
Mhm.
everyone knows what's coming. But um, I have mentioned there's a connection definitely between someone in Dead Man Walking and Serpentine Valentine, which is fun. We'll see if people pick up on it.
When this comes out on audio, I will probably definitely reread the series.
Oh, I love
Like
it.
I said, when I was reading this, the literally after the first chapter, I'm pretty positive I sat there and I was like, "No, but I need to reread the series."
Oh, I
As
love
soon
that.
as the first cameo, like, showed up, I was like, "No, but, like, I need to go back to Lessons in Corruption because I love that
Mm.
book so much," and I was just like, "I need to reread
I
it."
can I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so fun because I mean, like even for me, they all have such distinct personalities. So like when they come on the page, you're like, well, yeah, hey, and it's for me too. Like they'll just come in and they'll be like, well, I have this to say, obviously. And I'm not like a sit down and plan kind of author. I'm a black out and write kind of author. And I do find it just kind of wonderful and amazing that those characters are so vivid to me that like they just come in and they talk to me. Like Daddy Zeus, I could sit down right now and just write anything for him because he's just so present in my mind, which is a lovely way to live my life to have Daddy Z always in my head. But it's a really nice thing, particularly about those characters, is I've spent now 7 books with them. So they just keep getting more and more ingrained and more complex. And it's like really fun to write that world.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this our lovely king has 2
Yeah.
books, but if
And a
you
book of poetry.
Yes, if you need to write 5 books about
Okay,
no.
but hold your horses, girly, because this is what I say to people when they're like, "Give me more Daddy Z." I'm like, "You know me. You know I would raise them to the motherfucking ground. Like, they would be absolute I would destroy them.
I
So if
know.
you want them to be destroyed, then yes, totally manifest another book for them. But I will be honest and say, I would destroy them if I wrote another book about them.
No, I
And
know.
so
I shouldn't even speak into existence what I
yeah.
potentially thought you could
Mm,
do to him.
mm,
I'm not even gonna say it.
mhm.
Because I was like, I could see her ending the series a certain way, and then I would be hearing from
I know what you're gonna say. Yes, I understand that. Well, a
but
lot of people are already like, "Can I have next gen?" And I'm like, "Guys,
I've
there's
seen
so
that.
much of this
Yeah,
gen. Like,
it's
we're not gonna skip ahead. Like, I'm not even thinking about next gen right now. I'm
yeah.
if ever, like, there's a lot of people left to tell
As
stories."
soon as you give your characters kids, people are just like, "No, but then when are the kids gonna
Yeah.
get the book?"
No, and people are already, like, matchmaking the kids and stuff, and I'm like, Guys, relax. Like, focus on this generation because those kids are, like, babies or they're not even born or you've seen them in, like, one scene.
In,
Let's
like,
give
an
them some
epilogue,
time
it's like they're
to
not even
percolate.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, like, I even had a message today that was like, "Okay, so I think um, that one of Nova and Lila's kids is gonna be with, like, Axeman and May's kid." And I was like, "I have not even told you Axeman and May are having kids."
Yeah.
Like, just wait a second. Like, I love the enthusiasm, but also, they're children. Some of them don't even exist yet or maybe ever, so give it a minute.
Yeah. Someone asked before who was older, Axeman or Daddy Z. I think Zeus is older.
Zeus is older, but not by much. He's, like, a year older.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize they were that close to each I actually think I was trying to figure it out, but yeah, okay, so they're
Yeah, so Zeus is a year older and Bat's a year older, but
mhm,
they're very close in age.
mhm,
Um, and yeah, who else is kind of up there? I mean, because Zeus essentially like started the Fallen Men from scratch after he took over,
yeah,
the only like old timer is Buck. And
mhm,
Smoke, but Smoke is kind of like a part-time
mhm,
member because of his health issues. So
mhm,
really like Buck is the oldest
yeah,
full-time member.
mhm,
And the rest of them are like around the oldest, the bulk of them are like early 40s.
yeah,
Yeah. So they're not that old. It's a pretty young club. And then
yeah,
there's a lot like their prospects are really young. Like Ransom's 17, Pigeon's I think 19, Carson's in his early 20s. Like they're a pretty young club.
yeah. Well, they're young and they're still they're still kicking ass and
They
taking
are.
names. Like I said, I'm like these two, obviously not this one, but like this becoming number two. It's just the fallen something about the daddies.
I love a daddy.
There's
I love
something
a daddy.
about the daddies is obviously very important to me, but
I
I
just think it
yeah.
speaks to like a good heart. And especially with Axeman, like, he does not it was never a question for him that Cleo was not his daughter the moment that he decided to marry her mother. Like, it was just no one could ever convince him that Cleo would in any way be lesser
Mhm,
because they do not share blood. Like, he would and has done, like, everything for her
mhm,
and happily. And that's kind of I think for me and what I love writing about and the most romantic, like the upper echelon of romantic gestures is sacrificing for the ones that you love. That's what we all hope for is like that they would die for us, that they would sacrifice for us happily, not begrudgingly, but like happily. And I think that with both Zeus and Axeman being dads, you can see that level of sacrifice because they have children and their stakes are higher.
mhm. Yeah, no, I think Axeman is like the daddy. It was actually Valentine messaged me when I was reading it and she was so excited. She was like, "Dare I say Axeman is a better dad than Zeus?" I was like,
Mm,
"Okay, I mean listen, I do think the relationship with the kids shown in the books is a little different given
mhm,
like, you see him with Cleo when she's younger, and just his, he's so obviously protective over her and everything that he does for her. It was just so beautiful. Like he is the dad, okay? He is like, this is daddy, but like this is dad.
Yeah. No, that's actually a very fair distinction. And I think, to be fair to Zeus, you do not like, I do not give you scenes where he's super interacting with his kids that much. I mean, in Good Gone Bad and in the books, like, I mean, he pretends to date Cressida to like for King. He does do things, but he's a dad. Zeus is the dad of the whole group, of
Yeah.
everyone. So like in every single book, I would argue that you see him being a father-like figure for everyone in the book.
Yes.
So he's so much more than just dad to like, X-Men's dad to Cleo, but like Zeus's daddy to everyone.
Yeah. Zeus is the daddy. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, even him just simply being in the same room as them in this book, I was like, oh, that's my man. There he is. I missed him so much.
He's a good guy. He's great. I love him.
Yes. Something I wanted to ask you is, I did not realize, I don't know why I didn't know this about you. You're a big Taylor Swift person.
Huge Taylor Swift person, massive Swiftie. Yeah.
So am I. Fun fact, when I booked and I was getting my Fallen Men tattoo, of my Dark Side tattoo, I literally right after booked my Taylor Swift tattoo.
What are you getting?
I have Sparks. No, I have it. I got it the week after. I literally got.
Oh my gosh.
I have Sparks for Sparks Fly on my arm.
I love that. Oh my God. So pretty.
I can't give it. Was funny because like I'm talking to my literally tattoo girl while she's doing my ankle, and I was like, oh yeah, I've always wanted a Taylor Swift one too, and I think I finally know, like, because I've been getting tattoos since I was 18 and I'm 28 now, so literally for like 10 years. So, but I've always wanted a Taylor Swift one. I just never thought of it. And I was like, okay. And I'm like sitting there literally getting this tattoo. And she was like, oh, like the cherry, what is this for? I'm like, it's just for my favorite book. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and fully explain the plot of the book, but it's just for
whatever, just some book.
And then I was like, yeah. And then we booked she's like, I have an opening next week. And I was like, fantastic. Is there a Taylor Swift album or a song that you associate with maybe them?
Oh my God, I made a list.
Yeah.
But let me find it one sec. I actually have had so many conversations with people about this, including Valentine. Like, yeah. So I feel like there's some albums that like come up a little bit more. For example, like Reputation is one that like just the vibes of it really suit The Fallen. It's not actually one of my favorite albums. I'm really excited for her to do the Taylor's version because I think that whenever she like, I always enjoyed 1989 and then she did the Taylor's version and I am like, okay, like, wow, this is so good. And also all of the vault tracks on that album are just amazing. But yeah, I made a list. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it. It might be a little bit buried, but I will let you know in the DMs or maybe even make a post about it because I did a whole deep dive into what songs would go with which characters. And I don't think I'm going to find it now. So I'll send it to you. But yeah, I think Reputation there's like, especially for like Harley Rose and May, there were a few.
I was going to say, Harley Rose is a Reputation girly.
Totally.
Because
I mean, she wouldn't listen to Taylor Swift.
No, but
because it's too poppy for her. But even May, like there's mention of her listening to Taylor Swift. And that's the thing about T. I mean, don't get me started on how much I love her, but I mean, she can fit any mood. I just like went to see her, like a string quartet play her music. I finally got tickets. I'm going, actually the last night of the Eras tour at the moment is in Vancouver, December 8th, 2024. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait. So already planning my outfit, already bought my friendship bracelet, kit, everything. I'm so pumped. I love Taylor Swift. Like, yeah, she's amazing. I love the tattoo also. It's beautiful.
Thank you. You're going to have the best time. I saw her at MetLife night one, which was crazy. I got my 2 surprise songs that I wanted, which was a little wild.
What did you get?
I got and I have the list. I don't have the list on my phone anymore, but my list in my phone was literally, the first one was Anything off of Speak Now because that's my favorite album, but then number 2 and 3 were literally Maroon and Getaway Car, and the 2 that she did were Maroon and Getaway Car.
Oh my God, I would love to hear Getaway Car. It
was crazy, and I was in the second to last row
Okay.
And I still had the best.
Of course, because she puts on a show, she's such a queen. I will not hear any Swift slander, like, I refuse. I'm just like, "No, don't talk to me. We're not gonna have a fist fight right now." And I'm a Canadian, like, I'm not an aggressive person, but
I
I
was
will
gonna say,
fight.
no, you're
I will
too
fight.
nice. You don't
No, but I will fight for Taylor Swift because I care so much about her and she's amazing. No,
Yeah.
I like even, for my wedding, the groomsmen and the bridesmaids walked down the aisle to Wildest Dreams. Like, on
Oh,
a strings quartet people played
that's
it,
what I
and,
wanted to do for my wedding. That's obviously not even happening because there is no man yet.
but eventually, girl, eventually.
Plan it.
Yeah, you've totally gotta plan it.
Have
No,
to.
I having Taylor Swift involved in my wedding was, like, definitely, and we listened to, like, mostly Taylor Swift when we were getting ready. I even had songs from actually my books, like King and Cressida, when she walks down the aisle, she walks down the aisle to Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis, and
Mhm,
that's what I walked down the aisle to my man. And
mhm,
then, Lila and Nova, she walks down to, Wildflowers by Tom Petty, and
mhm.
that was our intro song when we were introduced as, like, husband and wife at the reception, and there was, like, a lot of little nods that were really fun from my books
No.
in the
If
wedding.
anyone here wants to cry, go to Gianna's post on her Instagram about her wedding and then all of the little nods that she did to like her books and like I was I was literally tearing up. I was like, I was like, that's so beautiful. She like
It was
incorporated
wonderful.
her
Yeah.
wedding.
I definitely recommend finding a man who when you're like, "What kind of wedding do you wanna have?" And he's like, "Well, our dream wedding because 'cause we've earned it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, if I wasn't already gonna marry you, 100%, I would marry you after this comment because it was just so beautiful." But, I mean, hey, I write amazing romance heroes who, like, have the most amazing gestures. I was not gonna settle for anything mediocre after writing someone like Daddy Zeus. I mean, how could you?
I mean, yeah, no, the pictures were like stunning. I was like, oh my god, I was like, these are some of the most gorgeous wedding pictures I've ever seen. I
Thank
was like, this is
you. I
beautiful.
mean, I care about pictures, as we know, talking about covers, I'm a very visual person, so I definitely made sure that we had a good photographer and everything like that.
Yeah, no, it was like so, so beautiful with the picture. And you're like, oh, they're wearing like the fallen men like pajamas. I was like, ah,
That
oh
was my
my God.
bridesmaids. They literally surprised me on my bachelorette with those fallen men pajamas, and I cried. I was like, I actually should post the video because my voice goes into, like, dog whistle territory. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so beautiful, so sweet, oh my god."
Has like everyone have like do a lot of people in your lives have they read the books?
That's a good question. It's definitely like a mix. So one of my sisters reads them and like aggressively endorses them to everyone in her life. She's like, "You've got to read them. You've got it." Like, I'm obsessed. And then as soon as I read one or like write one, she's like, "Can you send it to me?" Like, oh my God. And then the other one is like, I would never read them. It's too weird. So there's kind of, I would say that they kind of get split into those camps. Like either people that really read all of them and love them and kind of are invested in them, and then people who are like, I don't really want anything to do with it, or they just don't even think about reading them or anything. And I'm fine, honestly, even when I meet people and they're like, "What do you do?" And I tell them and they're like, "Oh, I'll buy your book." I'm like, "I don't really want you to. Like, if you like romance and you like dark and forbidden stuff, please." But I'm not writing some like rom-com that's generally appealing to the masses. I'm writing pretty specific things. So I'm like, don't pick it up unless you like that.
Yeah. Is there like a hidden gem like book or even like I know you write a lot of like duets series. Is there something off your backlist that you think deserves more hype that you think more people should read if they're just like a fallen men person?
Well, I would definitely, I mean, I love the Lombardi world,
Mhm.
and that's what I started with, and, like, the the idea for The Affair, which is the first book that I ever published, which is the first kind of the starting off point for the Lombardi family, that I had that idea when I was 16 years old, and it's kind of a funny story, but my best friend at the time, I like to ask hypothetical questions, get conversations going, and I was like, "What would you do if you fell in love with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend fell in love with you? What would you do?" And, like, without hesitation, she was like, "Well, I'd be with him." And at first, I was like, "I will fight you. You are a terrible friend. This friendship's over." And then I was like, "Well, that actually makes a lot of sense because I might not know that I'm unhappy, but I am unhappy if my boyfriend and my best friend are in love with each other and I'm in this relationship that's not going anywhere." So that was the whole idea that kind of started the affair and kind of gave birth to that family. I would say like the Anti-Heroes in Love duet is not that it's not popular because it is. It's definitely the most popular outside of The Fallen, but I just love that duet, and I love those characters so much, and I love redemption stories, and Elena is the villain.
Mhm.
And to the extent people fall in love with her to the extent that now they won't even go back and read about the rest of the family, and they think that the family's
Mhm.
awful, but in actuality, Elena was awful at first. So that's kind of fun, and it's a mafia duet, which is really adjacent to MC, and, I'm actually gonna write a mafia spinoff series from that duet, so it's also a good one to read for future Gianna works.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I know people are really ride or die for the duet and just they want more mafia. I loved the duet. I did. I listened to it on audio as well.
Okay,
I liked the audiobooks too. I thought they were really good, but no, the duet is very, very good.
thank you.
Just this it's very, very hot too.
Yes. Well, Dante is, like, smoking hot. Honestly, one of my favorite, like, sexy scenes I've ever written is in When Heroes Fall. It's not they don't even touch,
Mhm.
but he touches himself and she watches him, and
Yes.
it's just, like, supercharged eroticism, and I don't know, like, when I was literally, that was one of the scenes where afterwards I texted my husband and I was like, "Can you please come home for lunch?" Because I was just so into that scene, and, yeah, I love them. I mean, I think some of my favorite sex scenes that I've written are in The Evolution of Sin, which is that first trilogy.
Mhm.
There's, like, BDSM in it, but there's, like, some beautiful scenes. Like, someone asked me actually yesterday what my favorite sex scenes are in my books, and one of them is in The Evolution of Sin, and they do bondage with pearl necklaces, and
Mhm.
it's very good.
Fantastic. I need to go back and read because I actually have The Affair. I have a physical copy
Mm,
and I have like the digital copy. And
awesome.
I meant to go back. I also just got it was in the Audible sale. I think it's the Wildest Dreams duet,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got that. I have that edition.
So pretty. I'm obsessed with this book. I love it so much. It actually goes really well with the discreet of caution. I'm like, "Oh, the pinkies," and I love pink. So I
I
love
love pink too. So
like Bianca and Tiernan, I also really, really love a lot. I mean, that is a very Gianna Darling book, like Age Gap, Guardian Ward, Enemies to Lovers,
I already know I'm gonna
Mafia,
be
like,
obsessed. Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic.
yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's definitely he's a dick. Like, he's not.
That's how I like him. I don't like him to be
Yeah,
I
he's a
like
dick.
him mean. I like him mean. I
He's
say
mean. He's mean. Like, I don't think really that there's a fallen man yet that's being like, I mean, Axeman, he at some point, but he's
yeah,
not a mean guy. Like,
yeah.
Tiernan is mean. Like, he's an alpha asshole, and I kind of love those vibes. They're really fun.
No, I love that. Some people will read they'll even be very rude to, like, rom-com guys. They'll be like in an Enemies to Lovers, they'll be like, "He was too mean to her.
Yeah.
I didn't like it." And I'm like, "I like when he's mean."
No, I like the mean. I totally like the mean. I even like I lived in France for a while, and when I would date all the guys, they were so nice. They'd be like, "This there's stars in your eyes, and like you're so beautiful and smart." And I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you being so nice to me?" Like I would say, like I would freak me out. I was like, maybe it's a North American thing, and guys are just mean here, and we're just used to it. I'm not sure what it is,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like a more mean guy for sure.
That's
Mean, but then falls for you and then is nice to you. That's the dream.
that's incredible. Someone we did find out where Curtain's book is. It's in the anthology.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't Hell Hath thank you, Emily. She's the fans of Giana Darling on Instagram, so she, like,
Oh,
it knows
wonderful.
everything
I
about
like
everything,
that.
even what I don't know. So, yeah, it was in Hell Hath No Fury, which was a charity anthology that's not available, and then it is in Audible, yes, for 12 Naughty Days. And Steven is it Steven Dexter? Who is it? Something like that. I think that's his name. But the guy who narrates it's really great. I really enjoy. And they did it was for charity, so they did it for free, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you can listen to it on Audible if you want.
Very good. Are there any like audiobook narrators that you haven't worked with yet that are on your radar?
Yes,
Really?
for sure. I there's a few. I would like to work with Joe Arden, which I have
Someone
not.
said in the chat before they were like, "Would you work with him? Is he on
Oh,
the?"
cool. Yeah, I would for sure. I have also, I mean, I haven't published with him yet, but, Shane East as
Yes.
well
Yep.
is pretty yummy. Who else? There are like, I have a list. I have a list of ones, and, now that I'm more into Audible, when I write a book, I do think about who I would want to narrate it. So I do have some where I'm like, um, I think about it. But like, for example, I wrote a sports romance and he's like got an accent. And I'm like, I don't know who has an act like this accent. And now I have to figure that out. So sometimes I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely have a wish list for sure. Of men and women. But it's hard to, depending on what you write. A lot of narrators won't do dark romance. Um, really, they won't do mafia, they won't do dark.
Mhm.
So that's something to consider too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are coming on the hour.
Yes.
It's been an
Wow, that
hour.
went by so fast.
I was gonna say, what a fun hour it's been. Like I said before, this is a very special chat for me.
It's a
I
special chat for me.
love you so much. It's like when they emailed me, they were like, "Do you want to talk to Giana?" I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I would love to."
Well,
So
it was my pleasure. I really wanted to talk to you too. I mean, obviously, like, you know that I got so overwhelmed with joy when you showed me your adorable tattoo. Seriously, it's too good.
I
So
mean,
I
it's
am very grateful that you love my book so much. It means so much to me. And I love that you love Daddy Z. And hopefully you love my future books too. And yeah, it really means a lot that you had me on to chat and that you loved Caution.
no, you know I love all of them. And like I said, everyone knows. I always say if you don't know that this is my book, this is my man, my man, my man. He's just my comfort character, really.
I love that.
This is the emotional support copy that I literally leave right on the little stack. And
Oh,
every time I need him, I just go.
I love that. That's so cool.
So I just, it's just a beautiful book. It's obviously very special to me and a whole bunch of other people. I
Yeah.
like to think I'm the number one Daddy Zeus girl, but I'm not probably this. I'm
There's definitely a lot of Daddy Z
real.
girls, but I do appreciate it. You know, when I wrote it, like, I mean, it's not your average love story, so I wasn't sure how it would hit, and I'm very grateful anytime anyone gets how beautiful Daddy Zeus and Lou are, so I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. So as we wrap this up, thank you everyone who joined the chat. Asked a question. Thank you, Gianna, for being here. I have her links in the bio. Follow her if you aren't. I'm sure you are. Check out the Fallen Men series. Look at all of them. Ooh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
get the beautiful paperbacks with the model covers. They're stunning. You won't regret them. They're literally some of my favorite male models.
Oh, thank you.
Caution to the Wind is out now. Audiobook is coming early next year.
Mhm.
It's coming. Again, I will as soon as the audio's out, I'm gonna reread the series,
I'll send you a
re-listen to
code.
it, and I'm sure I won't be the only one who's gonna do that because I already
Oh,
know it's gonna be beautiful on audio. So
thank you.
thank you so much again for being here. Thank you everyone for
Thanks, guys.
watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.